This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. I am thrilled to be here helping you with playing the guitar. In this quick answer episode, I'm going to be talking about slash chords. So, what are slash chords? Well, sometimes when we're playing music, we run into a chord symbol that looks sort of like this, where we have D slash F sharp. The way we pronounce that is D over F sharp. And the reason we say it that way is because it's on the left side of this slash is our actual chord. And then on the right is an alternate bass note. So when we play a chord, like a G chord, the lowest note, which is the bass voice, is a G. If we're playing a C chord, the lowest note, which is the root, is the bass voice, is a C. With a D chord, and that lowest voice, which we're going to have the root, which will be that bass voice. The lowest note voiced in the chord is the bass voice. It's the bass note of the chord, and it's usually the root. G, D7, A7, C, F minor, whatever chord we're playing, that root is usually the lowest note in the chord. That's how we're voicing them. But sometimes we want an alternate note as the bass note of the chord, so we're putting the chord over a different note than the root. So D over F sharp is a really common one. So this becomes the new bass note of the chord. D over F sharp changes it. So now I have an F sharp note in the bass. I've placed up here on the board some of the common ones that we run into. G over B. So now instead of in the G chord, the G being the lowest note, the B note will be the lowest note. D over F sharp, same as here, but instead of D in the bass note, or the lowest note, it's going to be an F sharp. C over G, instead of the C being there, it's a G. And with D over A, instead of the D being the lowest note, now it's an A. So, these are some of the common ones, and we'll look at these just a little bit here together. The trick in first position of figuring out how to play a slash chord is knowing where the notes are in first position. And you can go up the schematic scale, just starting with the low string E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat. Then we got the open A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, and so on. If you want help with notes in the first position, you can check out my quick answer video on that. But basically, all we have to do is play a chord and then find the replacement note on those lower bass strings and how we can figure that out. The lower bass strings being strings 4, 5, and 6. The open D, A, and E strings are the bass strings. So G over B, this is one of the ones I've run into the most. A couple ways to play it. You can take the 4-string G, that 4-finger G that's so common, and then basically just mute that low string, and you can play your index. Now it's on a B note, was on a B note here, but B note, and then the open D and G strings, and then the top 2 strings, ring and pinky at the 4th. Sometimes with this one, I play it with all 5 of those strings, and sometimes I just mute this top string and play it on the inside 3. It depends on the song that's being played. Sometimes this one gets a little muted too, and it just becomes those 3. So G over B, that's really common. So then with D over F sharp, we've got that D chord and now this new F sharp on the bottom. So you can finger the D up top with fingers 2, 3, and 4 if you want to, and then put that index on the bottom, play, and then mute the 5th string, but you can have that open 4th string. D over F sharp, a lot of times with this one I'll just mute the top string as well, and it depends on the song, and have it just be index, the open 4th, and then the 2. So D over F sharp. That one's common, or you could have F sharp on top. It just depends on the particular song which one sounds better. C over G you run into, I've run into a few times. These are just some examples. But ring finger, we mute the 5th string and ring finger is down on the 6th string, playing that G. Or D over A is an easy one because we just have to play the open A string below it. So D over A. Now if you want help with more of these, my Chords and Harmony books 1 and 2 goes over lots of slash chords and some progressions that they're used in that work really great. But here's some starting voicings, and if you can just figure out, like F over A, I can have my F, and I know that's an A string, I've suddenly got F over A. The important thing to remember is the chord is on the left side and the alternate bass note is on the right side. Sometimes when I'm playing in a band, I actually won't play the bass note because the bass note's going to cover it, and I'll stay on the higher strings and just play the chord that's on the left. I need to mention that if you run into a chord symbol where it's not a slash, but it's actually a horizontal line between two chords, this is a polychord. This is different. This is where you have chords on both sides of the line, and a D chord in this case would be voiced above an E chord. We don't run into these with guitar music very often because these are they don't finger well. On the piano it makes sense. In my left hand I play an E, and in my right hand I play a D. Wop. But on guitar we don't see them and finger them and think of them that way. Sometimes these chords actually and even sometimes here, are alternate ways of explaining 7th chords and 13th chords and 11th chords and so on. So you can check out my quick answer videos on those. So I'll explain one other thing here with these slash chords, and that's in sort of the bar chord form, which my book goes into detail on. But with the bar chords versions, we can easily see how some of these are constructed. So with the major chords that have an alternate bass note, any of the notes that come from the major scale can actually go under it. So if we have this bar chord here, C, and I just take the inside 3 strings that are on strings 2, 3, and 4, I can change up the bass note that goes under. So the C major chord, this is C, has the root on the bottom. It can have step 2, which is a D. I could have step 3 on the bottom and have it on both ends. I could have step 4 on the bottom. I could have step 5 on the bottom. I could have step 6 on the bottom. I could have the flatted 7th on the bottom. I could have the natural 7th on the bottom, and then I'm back to the root. So we run into these. They usually have some note from the major scale that goes with the chord on the left. If it's a minor chord on the left, it's usually a note that comes right out of the chord itself. So a root, a flatted 3rd, or a 5th. So it's an inversion. I'll mention what that is here in a second. Or the flatted 7th thrown on the bottom. Same thing with like C7, dominant 7ths. It's usually one of the notes out of the chord, C, E, G, or that flatted 7th. So it's usually an inversion. So what's an inversion? So if I have C, E, G for my C chord, that's root position because the C is on the bottom. But if I put a 3rd on the bottom, so it's E, G, C now in this case, if the 3rd's on the bottom, I'm in 1st inversion, and then if the 5th is on the bottom, so the G, I'm in 2nd inversion. So the chord symbol way of writing that is C, C over E, C over G. But that gets us into voicings and how we can voice things on the guitar. Hope that helps. Have fun playing the guitar. We'll catch you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.